The little girl paid for an old man's bread. 20 years later, he changed her life forever. Have you ever wondered if one small act of kindness could change your life forever? Most people believe that good deeds are quickly forgotten, but sometimes the smallest kindness leaves the biggest legacy. This is the story of Emily, a little girl whose last $5 changed to lives forever. It was a cold autumn afternoon in a quiet little town. 10-year-old Emily walked home from school with her small backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Inside her pocket was a $5 bill. She had saved it for 2 weeks. Her dream was simple. She wanted to buy the chocolate cake she saw every day in the bakery window. As she reached the bakery, the sweet smell of fresh bread filled the air. Emily smiled. "Today's the day," she whispered. She stepped inside. The bakery was warm and crowded. People chatted while waiting for fresh bread. Near the counter stood an elderly man. His grey coat was old and patched, his shoes were worn, his hands trembled as he counted a few coins. The baker smiled politely. "I'm sorry, sir, it's not enough." The old man nodded quietly. "I understand." He carefully pushed the loaf of bread back across the counter. "I'll come back another day." His voice was soft. Almost embarrassed. Emily watched him slowly turn toward the door. For a moment, she looked at the cake, then she looked at the old man. Without saying a word, she walked to the counter. "I'll pay for his bread." The baker looked surprised. "Sweetheart, are you sure?" Emily nodded. Double quotes, yes. She placed her only $5 on the counter. The baker handed the bread to the old man. Someone already paid. The old man looked confused. "Who?" The baker pointed toward Emily. The old man's eyes filled with tears. "You used your own money?" Emily smiled. "My mom says no one should go hungry." The old man slowly walked toward her. "What is your name?" "Emily." He gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "Thank you," she smiled. "It's just bread." The old man looked into her eyes. "No, it's hope." Before leaving, he reached into his pocket. "I don't have money to repay you." Emily quickly shook her head. "I don't want anything." He smiled warmly. "Then let me give you something more valuable." Emily looked curious. "What?" The old man replied. "Never stop being kind. The world needs people like you." Then he quietly walked away. Emily never saw him again. Life moved on. Years passed. Emily grew up. But life wasn't easy. Her father passed away when she was 18. She left college to support her mother. She worked long hours at a small insurance office. Every paycheck disappeared into rent, groceries, and medical bills. At 30 years old, she often wondered if life would ever get easier. One rainy evening, she returned home exhausted. A large envelope rested against her apartment door. There was no return address. Inside was a letter. It read, "Miss Emily Carter, you are requested to attend the office of Harrison and Cole attorneys at 10:00 a.m. tomorrow regarding a private estate." Emily frowned. There must be some mistake. She almost threw the letter away. But curiosity won. The next morning she arrived at the law office. Everything inside looked expensive. Marble floors, crystal lights, beautiful paintings. A receptionist smiled. "Miss Carter, yes. They're expecting you." Emily followed her into a conference room. An elderly lawyer stood and shook her hand. "Please have a seat. I'm afraid I don't understand why I'm here." The lawyer smiled. "You will." He opened a thick folder. 20 years ago. "Did you buy bread for an elderly stranger?" Emily laughed softly. "I barely remember it." The lawyer nodded. He never forgot. Emily's smile slowly disappeared. The lawyer placed an old photograph on the table. It showed a little girl, standing inside a bakery, smiling. Emily gasped. "Where did you get this?" The man had someone take that photograph that day. He kept it for the rest of his life. Emily's eyes filled with tears. The lawyer continued. His name was Arthur Bennett. He owned one of the largest food distribution companies in the country. Emily stared in disbelief. No, he looked homeless. He wanted people to believe that. The lawyer nodded. For years Arthur secretly visited different towns dressed as an ordinary poor man. He believed generosity could never be measured when people knew who you were. Emily couldn't. Speak. The lawyer continued. Thousands of people ignored him. Some insulted him, some laughed, but one little girl spent everything she had to buy him bread. Emily whispered, I only wanted to help. Arthur had no children. No close relatives. When he passed away, he left detailed instructions. The lawyer slid another document across the table. Emily looked down. Her hands began to shake. She couldn't believe what she was reading. Arthur had created the Emily Carter Foundation, a charity dedicated to feeding hungry families. And he had left enough money to operate it for decades. Emily looked up in shock. There has to be some mistake. There isn't. He also left you his country home and appointed you as director of the foundation. Emily began crying. I don't deserve this. The lawyer smiled gently. According to Arthur, you earned it 20 years ago. The lawyer handed her one final envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Emily slowly unfolded it. It read, Dear Emily, you probably don't remember me, but I have remembered you every single day. That loaf of bread fed me for one evening. Your kindness fed my faith in humanity for the rest of my life. Money can build buildings, but kindness builds people. I searched my entire life for someone I could trust to continue helping others. I found that person the day a little girl gave away everything she had, without expecting anything in return. Please continue what I started, and never stop believing that small acts of kindness matter, because they do. Thank you. Your friend, Arthur Bennett. Emily held the letter against her heart. She cried for several minutes, not because of the inheritance, but because she finally understood something. Kindness is never wasted. Weeks later, the Emily Carter Foundation opened its doors. Every day, families received groceries. Children received school lunches. Elderly people received warm meals. No one was ever turned away. Above the entrance hung a simple wooden sign. One loaf of bread can change a life. Visitors often asked Emily why those words meant so much. She would simply smile. Because one day, someone taught me that the smallest act of kindness can become the greatest gift. Years later, a little boy walked into the foundation with $2 in his hand. I want to help someone who's hungry. Emily smiled. She saw herself in him. She knelt beside the boy and said, You know, the world changes one kind heart at a time. Outside, families left carrying bags of food. Children laughed. Hope returned to homes that had almost lost it, and every time Emily looked at the sign above the door, she remembered the old man, the loaf of bread. And the lesson that changed her life forever. Because sometimes. The greatest rewards don't come from wealth. They come from a single moment, when you choose kindness over yourself. The end.